have just discovered Zach Herron, so there might be a few things you don't know about him yet. Stay tuned to find out what makes Zach's perfect dream girl.
What's up? I'm Zach and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Are you new around here? Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to The Things for more great content like this. Now on to 20 things you didn't know about Zach Herron from Why Don't We? He grew up singing. A lot of times when singers burst onto the scene, we all wonder where they came from. And even more importantly, how did they get such amazing vocal talent? Well, Zach's talent didn't just pop up out of nowhere. He actually grew up singing. When he was younger, he sang in a youth choir. While in the choir, he always tried to get the solo parts because he loved singing so much. We wonder if his choir instructor gave him most of the solos. If it were us, we definitely would have. Have you heard his voice? Come on. There's no way you wouldn't want him singing as much in your choir as possible. He's been touring. You may think that Zach is new to this touring game, but that isn't the case. Come on, he's a natural. There's no way this could be his first time touring and singing. And it actually isn't. Zach joined Impact in 2016. Impact was a meet and greet tour that allowed up-and-coming stars to travel around the US and go to some major cities. While there, they would meet with their fans, sing for them, and sign autographs. It's a great way to solidify your fan base and get to know them even more. It was pretty smart for Zach to join this tour and get his name out there more. Solo artist. Don't be afraid. This entry is not about Zach going solo. Right now, he hasn't spoken of any plans to leave Why Don't We? But a few years ago, Zach did have some solo projects. One in particular was really successful, and that was his song Time Lapse. It dropped in 2016. The song was about how much he wanted to get to know a girl, but never felt like he had enough time, which makes sense when you're on your way to being a pretty big star. In the song, he goes on to say that he'll pretty much cancel all of his plans for this girl. Hello, can we get a guy like Zach? Favorite music. A lot of artists have different musical influences. Often a person's musical influence affects the way that they sound and the way they create their own musical personas. Zach admitted that his favorite music is the music that came from the 80s. He says that no matter what comes out, the music from that era will always be his favorite. The 80s did have some pretty great music. Can you hear an 80s influence on the music that Zach produces? Next time you're listening to any of his parts with Why Don't We? Pay close attention. You might hear something that shows off his favorite genre. Celebrity crush. Everyone has a crush on someone. Us regular people usually have to admire our crushes from afar, but even celebrities have crushes. We love to find out what celebrities other celebrities are crushing on. Can you guess who Zach has a crush on? Okay, we'll give you a hint. She loves rocking ponytails, and she has one of the most amazing voices we have ever heard. Did you guess? Of course you did. It's Ariana Grande. He actually talks about his crush pretty often, but we don't really see anything happening between these two because she's almost always in a relationship. But you never know, maybe he'll catch her one day when she's single. Old YouTube channel. Sure, you probably watch all of Why Don't We's music videos, but we just can't get enough. If you're like us, you probably want to see as much of Zach as possible. Well, you're in luck. Zach actually has an old YouTube channel that is still up. The channel was called Bro Trio. It featured him and his friends. It shows a completely different side of Zach.
Hey dudes, one second.
Instead of focusing on his singing, the channel focuses on him and his friends just goofing around and having fun. The channel is a great way to get to know a little more about Zach. Working on himself. Honing your craft is a lifelong journey. You can always get better at what you do, no matter what your talent is. Though Zach had toured before, he said that the group's recent Imitation tour made him a better performer. The tour had longer sets, lots of outfit changes, and ultimately bigger audiences. At first, Zach was a little intimidated by all of the things that his tour required of him, but after a while of doing it, he realized that it was making him a better artist and performer. We all need experiences like this to push us to be better. So good for you, Zach. Inspiration. Like we mentioned before, artists are inspired by a lot of things. Depending on the situation, an artist could be inspired by the circumstances of their own lives or by others. While we mentioned earlier that Zach is greatly influenced by 80s music, he's also influenced greatly by by Jon Bellion. If you don't know who that is, he's best known for his single All Time Low. You might be wondering how someone with such a different sound could inspire Zach, but people can be inspired by anyone. It'd be boring if they were only inspired by people who sounded and acted exactly like them. We would honestly love to see a Zach-Jon mashup, wouldn't you? First song. We all know that Zach can play the guitar. It's part of what made us like him in the first place. He's just so multi-talented. Do you know what the first song he learned on the guitar was? It was actually Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, which is pretty interesting if you think about it, because Ed Sheeran is the one that wrote Why Don't We's song Trust Fund Baby. Isn't that insane? Can you imagine learning a song by one of your favorite artists, only to have the artist eventually write a song for you? That's crazy! Zach must have been so excited. Covers. A lot of stars start out singing covers. Covers are a great way to get noticed because people already like those songs and are searching for them on YouTube and other channels. So it's easier for people to happen upon your music when you're singing a cover than if you were singing an original song. This could have been the reason that Zach did a cover of Shawn Mendes's Stitches, and it's a good thing that he did because the video went viral after he posted it on YouTube. He got millions of views, and it pretty much solidified that he was on his way to doing big things. Constantly winning. With a voice like Zach's, it only makes sense that he would be constantly winning things. As we mentioned before, Zach was in a choir in high school. While in the choir, he won several honors, but the awards didn't stop there. He was also selected as one of the youngest members of the Master Select program for up-and-coming artists by Entertainment Group. It's like the kid was created for greatness. From a young age, he was winning awards left and right. His parents had to have known that he wouldn't just be an ordinary kid. And look at him now. He's a star. Family life. Family is important. Just because you're a star doesn't mean that you don't need people behind you that support you and always have your back. Typically, your family are the ones who will always be with you no matter what. Zach's parents are named Mita and Josh Herron, and he is one of 3 kids. He has a younger brother named Ryan and a younger sister named Reese. It's probably really exciting for his younger siblings to watch him rise up and become such a big star. It also opens the door for them to become stars as well, if that's what they want to do. Completely inspired by Ed Sheeran. It's not just the very first Why Don't We song that connected the band to Ed Sheeran. It turns out Ed Sheeran is a huge role model for Zach. In an interview with Ink Pop, he revealed that Ed Sheeran has actually been a big influence for him as a musician. Zach said that a lot of their music is inspired by Ed's talent of giving songs a brand new meaning. We can totally understand why. Ed Sheeran is just one of those artists that brings out a lot of emotions in his songs. He's been a complete inspiration to Zach when it came to writing music in general, and Zach said Ed is a great writer and a great person too. Before the Imitation Tour, Zach's career was very different. He said they didn't really have production and music to show before. They just had one EP out with only 5 songs. But then they got a full hour and 15-minute set, which is crazy to think about. The first day on tour, Zach got nervous because there were a lot of people watching them. It's quite scary being on a big stage for the first time. And all he could think about were outfit changes, and how could he possibly change in such short amount of time? It takes a lot of skill to be a performer, doesn't it? Feelings on the group. One of the best and hardest parts about being part of a band is that you're constantly in a group. You're compared to your group mates, and you always have to spend time around each other. If you don't like the other people in your group, then it kinda sucks to be you. But luckily, Zach doesn't feel that way about his group.
What's up? It's Why Don't We?
In an interview, he said that being in a band was a big thing for him because it meant that he got to share his experiences with 4 other guys.
Zach's just a dope guy.
There are people to laugh with about the crazy things that happen and someone to share everything with. They work like crazy. In an exclusive interview in March 2018, Zach spoke about what the band's plans were after their tour. What he ended up doing is actually revealing just how crazy they work. Zach said that after the tour wraps up, they'll go on to their European tour, and while they're touring, they'll be recording new things. He said he hopes they'll be releasing an album, which is crazy to think about. Why Don't We work so hard to make their music? Usually, it takes bands forever to come out with new music. Imagine recording new songs as you're also trying to remember all old ones and performing on stage almost every night. That is exhausting. Dreamgirl. We've already mentioned that Zach has a pretty big crush on Ariana Grande, but he probably knows that is a long shot. When it really comes down to it, Zach has said that he doesn't need someone famous. He just needs someone that he has a connection with. If a girl can make him laugh and make him happy, then he's more than good with that. He said that the main thing for him is that they connect instantly and right off the bat. That's how he will know that it's meant to be. You hear that, girls? Better start practicing your jokes now if you want to be with Zach. Filipino Fans. Zach and the rest of the group are extremely grateful for all the fans they have gained over the years. But in an interview, Zach was quick to point out one group in particular. Quote, "I see you guys, Filipinos, everywhere on the internet, on social media." He said every time he gets on social media, those fans are just blowing up his notifications, and he couldn't wait to go to the Philippines. He said his Filipino fans were just freaking out over their music and always sharing their content. So he said a special thank you to his Filipino fans for all that and sent his love. Birthday. Some people think that you can tell a lot about a person based on their birthday. Well, Zach was born on May 27th, 2001. This makes him a Gemini. Geminis are said to be expressive and quick-witted. The sign represents two different personalities in one. The problem is, you never know which personality type you'll get with these people. They are also very sociable and are always down for a good time. They do, however, have a tendency to become restless and serious. Geminis typically want to see and experience everything and constantly worry that there isn't enough time for them to see and do everything that they want to do. Imitation. If you were famous, would you ever spend your time trying to be someone else? Probably not. Why would you? Famous people have everything at their fingertips. Money, fans, cars, houses, pretty much everything. But still, it can be pretty funny to pretend to be someone else from time to time, which is probably why Zach loves to do imitations of Harry Styles. And surprisingly, he's pretty good at it. Could this mean that Zach has some acting skills that we don't know about? We sure hope so, because we would love to see Zach in a movie or two. Wouldn't you? Well, that's it for 20 things you didn't know about Zach Herron from Why Don't We? Were you surprised by anything on this list? Did we miss anything? Let us know in the comments.